Well, that comment I think is fine, and articulating, I mean, referring to Palestinians as people with rights and reiterating the commitment to a two-state solution. I think these are core principles and core policy planks. The problem is, both for this US administration and pretty much all previous ones, is that there's never been action on the ground that helps ensure these outcomes. Instead, there's been an abdication at a time when successive Israeli governments, both of the Labour Party and not just of the Likud or its far-right allies who are in power today, all these Israeli governments have pursued the settlement enterprise within the West Bank and East Jerusalem, and previously until 2005 in the Gaza Strip itself. And so reality on the ground has been changed daily by every single Israeli government for the last nearly 40, 50 years. And every US administration in that period, whether Republican or Democrat, has failed to force Israel to negotiate on the basis of the status quo. The status quo has been changed daily. So I'm referring to that long history simply to say that for President Biden to come back and reiterate broad principles, it's sort of motherhood and apple pie. We all love both principles, but unless this US administration is going to back up this policy position with meaningful consequences, and I don't mean punishment for Israel, I simply mean that the Israeli electorate has had the luxury for at least 2.5 decades so far of being able to enjoy prosperity, growth, security, full American support, and that's all fine. But to do so and at the same time colonize more and more land that is supposedly going to be part of a future Palestinian state that President Biden says he wants to see come into being. And, just as the Israeli public, the electorate, can't have it both ways and must understand that it has choices to make, the US president also has to make choices. And he can't go on selling us, beautiful words with no prospect of achieving them. So I'd like to sort of take this to something further. We've heard in recent days from Secretary of State Blinken, from various Western diplomats, Arab diplomats, and others, that this US administration is discussing with its allies and friends, including in the region, the deployment of an Arab or international peacekeeping force to Gaza and to form an interim administration there until an acceptable Palestinian entity can take over governing daily life in the Gaza Strip. Now, just think of that. It sounds great, but unless there's a connection to an end result, specifically Palestinian independence and statehood, which also includes the West Bank, where we've had daily violence since the 7th of October, where Israeli soldiers and armed settlers have killed nearly 500 Palestinians. Unless Biden presents his sort of end goal, his vision that says a Palestinian state in the West Bank and in Gaza, this has to come into being through the following means, within the following time frame, then all this is pious words that sound good, that maybe he's sincere about, but without a concrete roadmap, then what he's doing is setting the stage for future violence, because any peacekeeping troops he sends into Gaza are dealing with a population that has been brutalized, abused, whoever by, and with no hope of independence and sovereignty, then they are going to turn on those peacekeepers, just as they've turned on Israeli occupation forces in the West Bank. It's inevitable. And so for the Biden administration to be trying to set the stage for sending other Arab or international troops into Gaza is walking them into a trap. It can't keep having things both ways. It's got to step up to the plate and face up to the fact that Benjamin Netanyahu and his far-right allies will never be partners for peace, not of the Palestinians, but not of the United States either. And he's just got to bite that bullet and deal with it.